There are generally two kinds of loose players you encounter at the table. One, the loose, weak player, and two, the more dangerous, loose, talented player. Let's start by looking at a loose, weak player. These players can offer you some of the best opportunities to double your stack because they like to play a lot of hands pre-flop and they lack the experience and skill to play well after the flop. This means you can profit from loose, weak players both before the flop and after the flop. Let's look at an example. Say you're holding two aces. Against a loose, weak player, you always want to raise or re-raise your hand in order to get as much money as is practical into the pot. The reason why is they're going to call that raise, and you're going to get a lot of money in when you're a huge favorite. Of course, when it comes 8, 9, 10, and they've called you re-raise, you're in a bit of a pickle, but that's poker. Even if you're not holding a premium hand, it is still possible to profit off of a weak, loose player after the flop. Let's say you're holding something like the 7-8 of spades, and your loose, weak opponent makes a standard 3x pre-flop raise. Depending on your position, you have a few options. If you're in early or middle position, you might want to fold your hand and wait for a better spot against your opponent. Maybe someone behind you would re-raise, and you just probably don't want to play 7-8 suited in early or middle position. Or if your stack is big enough, you may choose to just call your opponent and then try to outplay them after the flop. Without a premium hand, however, there is absolutely no reason for you to re-raise and build a bigger pot before the flop. So, you've called with your 8-7 of spades, and the flop comes down 7 of diamonds, 9 of spades, queen of spades, giving you bottom pair and a flush draw. Not bad, but not great either. By keeping the pot small pre-flop, you again gave yourself options on how you proceed with the hand. With a pair and a flush draw, you can easily call or raise your opponent's continuation bet. You can bet the hand on your own if they check, or even fold if you suspect that you're way behind. By exercising pot control with your speculative hand, you put yourself in a situation where you can win a good-sized pot with just a small pre-flop investment, or get away from a potentially expensive loss. Now, let's contrast a loose, weak player with a loose, talented one. As we've already pointed out, the loose, talented players are often very good at post-flop play, which means you want to be much more selective about your hand selection when you face them. Well, there's nothing wrong with playing speculative hands against loose, talented players. You should only look to take flops with hands that are easy to play if they hit the flop or if they miss completely. Hands like small pairs are very good against these players, as are big suited connectors that you can play aggressively if they connect, or dump easily if they don't. Man, I love having a small pair and flop in a set against a loose player. Stack 'em, man. What's more, because of their post-flop skills, you are often looking to profit against loose, talented players before the flop. They're pretty good after the flop, man. This means one of your most profitable plays is to look for spots where you're the last pre-flop aggressor. And you're the one who's putting in the 4 bet. You're the one who's moving all in before the flop. You're the man who's 3 betting. The idea in taking this aggressive line against a loose, talented player is to get them to fold their marginal hands before the flop. Sometimes, of course, they may also call with a real hand of their own, but oftentimes loose players are not going to be very strong when they raise. Take advantage of it. Come over the top of the loose players before the flop.